we're gonna act like this awesome human being isn't here for a second as I introduce what we're doing here as Guadalupe. But we're gonna get the full name and story, and she's gonna share with us. Welcome back to Mission One Races, Days of Oneness, and our live conversations that we've been having, where we really are leaning into community, right? We build the communities that we're really seeing oneness, love, and mission living out, and how to take action. So that's going to be framed up with one of the friend and partner organizations we've done a lot with, really in our early launch and existence, called American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, but specifically here with Guadalupe. And Guadalupe is a woman, I can already tell, with stories upon stories. And I don't have a loss of words for anyone that knows me. So we're going to keep this nice. Stay with us about 18 minutes or so here, and we're going to share. We're going to cover a little bit, again, of why we're here, and some unity, understanding that we are suffering, right? It's weird. Like, you don't like to talk about suffering. You don't like to talk about challenges. We don't like to talk about things like mental health or loss. But it's a weird humanity that happens when we realize that it doesn't care about color.
Right.
It doesn't care about gender. And I'm talking mental health, when I'm talking like suicide and what it does to all of our lives. And
Yes.
man, I'm already getting choked up a bit because, like, in my own struggles and so forth, because it's a weird equalizer.
Yes.
So yeah, there's a weird unity in our collective human understanding that this time that we're in is really tough on people, and folks aren't saying it. So Guadalupe, thank you for coming here and being willing to share with us about your personal journey, and then specific to those tenets that we talked about, and on a positive, because we want to end with hope.
Yes.
We're going to keep it real though in the midst of that, right? That's what I'm saying. Unity, truth, and we'll end with hope. Around this conversation, and we're out here at Highland Park, so life is happening. Just apologize about that. We'll pause for a second. This is real life. We're in LA, so those of you who are watching this abroad, yes, this is how we're living. This is the sun. So first and foremost, what's your full name?
My name is Guadalupe Aguilar, and I am a native from Los Angeles, born and raised in Los Angeles in an area called Northeast LA.
Okay.
And so, like you said, we are in Highland Park, and we have been here. We bought our home since 1997, so
Wow.
we've been here for quite a minute. And I appreciate you inviting me here to talk about mental health. And for me, it's very important because I see, as a woman, as a Latina, I can bring that face to someone who may be struggling in the Latino community, because there's still so much stigma around mental health. I actually lost two brothers to suicide. My first brother I lost was Danny in February of 2010, and he was 37 years old. And during that time, I was in a very dark place. It took me 3 years before I could actually say that I was ready to talk to someone about it. And the first thing that I did was to sign up to the LA Marathon. And the reason I did that, a friend of mine said, it's an interesting analogy, because some people run away from their feelings. You actually ran to overcome all of what you were holding up inside. So for me, it was every mile that I did that for the first marathon, I was stomping out all of that pain that I had bottled up, because when I was going through the process, I didn't even want to talk about how he died. I would just say he passed.
Yeah.
And then crossing that finish line, it was just so overwhelming, not just because I finished the marathon, and also because every tear that I cried when I crossed that finish line, it was a release. It was just that ocean of release, of saying, okay, if I can do this, then I can begin to work on myself and to share my story and to see someone to try to understand what I was going through. Because the initial shock is you are numb, you're angry at your brother, which I was angry at myself, and there's so many questions that come with that will never ever be answered, unfortunately. But once I did that, I was on my way to a better understanding of who I was and what my role was in terms of sharing his story. At that time, it was just one brother. And then unfortunately, I lost my second brother, Rudy, in January of 2016. But fortunately, I had tools in which I could use to say, okay, well, it's not going to bring me back down to my knees. I know what I need to do. And it was interesting because it was a month right before the LA Marathon. And that year they had moved it up to February. So it was just, I wasn't going to stop doing it. I wasn't going to stop raising the funds for American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. I had to continue to do it to find that strength to say, yes, I've lost, again, another brother, unfortunately, but my story continues. I'm still here. I can still talk about this. And I'm a person of color, so people can relate to that. And it's not just in the Latino community, it's in the African American community, Armenian, Native American. There's just still so much stigma about talking about mental health. And the main thing that I do now is I check on myself. How am I today? Am I okay today? And the most important thing is to say, today I'm not okay, and that's okay. You don't have to be okay every day. You don't have to always be smiling and go through all of that and say, pretend to be okay, because you know that you're crying inside, or you know that you're shattered inside. Because if you keep ignoring that, then guess what's going to happen to you? Because your physical health is okay, but if you're not taking care of your mental health, everything else is going to fall apart.
There's just so much there. And in the first part, I want you to hear me say, and if whoever watches this say, the probability, right, of us being directly affected by suicide like this is higher than we want to know, but for it to strike twice, I mean, I'm be honest with you, I need you to hear me say, like, that's hard.
Yes.
No, it's just real. And that's what we talk about when we talk about mission and race, about relating. Like, I am sitting here literally trying to put myself in your shoes. I'm one of 11 blended family, and I have 3 brothers, 7 sisters,
right.
And just even one in that space of being, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
And then for you to say boom, and then and not a tragedy. Right, and I'm not trying to bring up stuff, but just you think of like a potential preventable of like, can we reach them? Yes. Like, what has the world done? How did you get to the place of such hopelessness? And how do we stop that? That's it's firing me up for you and for that story. It's like this unique moment where we say, God, why? Right, to a certain extent, but you kind of answered that but maybe not perfectly at first. So is that what drove you into where you had your own challenges?
Yes.
Is that what ended up happening?
Yes, because I ended up where I couldn't even work anymore, and I was lashing out at my family. I was lashing out at my husband. I was yelling. I was angry every day, and I sat back, and I remember when I was at work, and I was like, I can't do this anymore. And I literally walked out, and I asked to see my doctor, and they immediately sent me to a therapist, and then they gave me 3 months off, and then I never went back to that particular job. But it was just the overwhelming pain of saying, that's it, I can't handle this anymore. And it was affecting my life at home, because it wasn't me. And I think the most important thing in terms of a message, and unfortunately, yes, it's 2 brothers, and there are good days and there are bad days, because I will never stop grieving the loss of my brothers. That's not something that you get over. No. You just don't. You learn to navigate the pain, and you learn to become part of this club that you didn't want to be a part of, unfortunately, but you learn that your voice has power, especially because I'm a person of color. I'm Latina. And I keep saying that, but it's important, because if someone who is brown, whether you're a woman or male, and they see my face and they're struggling to make it to another day, well, if she's talking about her story, then it's okay that I can talk about my story.
Yeah, I'm glad you're leading into that, because I really have thought about this, and And I have some specific examples on a brother and other things, and I'm not going to spend a long time, but it's just not being dealt with and talked about well.
No.
And let's just say it like that.
No.
It's just not. It's a mixture of what we've already been through. It's a mixture of like what we've been through, toughen up. Like it's that. So there's truth to it, because what we have to, unfortunately, we're seeing this in the year, day by day. Oftentimes, we're saying. So there's this assumption that you've got that layer of like numbness around you, which is okay, not all the way bad. But then there's also this other part of it, of the shame.
Right.
Like, oh man, you saw. Like I'm joking, I'm using this voice, but these are real conversations. Like almost where there's like we're ashamed and we're getting better. And I say the last thing is socioeconomics.
Yes.
If we keep it real,
Yes.
who knows what? Like we're trying to make ends meet. We're trying to get stuff done. Like, where do I even go to a therapist? Where do I, how do I don't have insurance for that? Like, there's a lot of reasons why in minority communities, it's not just like this thing. Like, what's wrong with them? No, it's a concoction of
It's
right.
several
Would you agree?
factors. And I like what you said in terms of, that certain voice that you put out in terms of men, specifically in all communities. It's for the Latinos, it's the macho. You don't have feelings. You can't be sad. You're the provider. You have to provide for your family, or, oh, you're sad. So then what does that make you? Does that make you not a man because you're in touch with your feelings,
Yes.
quote unquote? So for my brothers, it was years of not getting help, and sure, they had their faults. They weren't perfect, they went through drug addiction and alcoholism and so forth. So I'm not trying to
Which are conversations in themselves as well. Like we when Mission One Race, we're like, let's not back out any of it, but just your history does not determine your value.
Exactly.
Right? Like your history, our choices and stuff, all of us have, right?
And there's a history there.
Yeah.
And it could be a childhood trauma. It could be so many events that happened in your life. And for myself, it's just learning how to navigate the loss and being the voice that they lost and elevating the voices. And the most important thing for me is to make that conversation not an uncomfortable conversation, to break the stigma, to talk about a suicide as a conversation that affects everyone, whether you're poor, you're rich, you're brown, you're black, it doesn't matter. It affects everybody. And the most important thing is that you start the conversation, and you start by saying that someone died by suicide, not saying commit, because when you say commit, it carries a negative connotation. And once you do that, you're saying that someone committed a crime.
Well, you gotta just see, because moments like this, I don't like to rush past, and then we're gonna be landing the plane with our 4 hopeful steps. This is another moment that since I've taken on this journey, that it's just small but huge. So again, when you say, and I say it I'm just gonna own this all the time. So when you say committed suicide versus what happens?
By. So when you say,
listen, y'all. Died by suicide, not committed suicide.
Commit or committed suicide.
It's so conviction. There's so much. Even the word is different.
Think about it, because once you say die by suicide, you're gonna think about, well, what happened in this person's life.
What's
and
the story?
When you say commit, you're saying, well,
you're already shaming them. You're literally shaming them as they're not already here. You're already
exactly.
There's a condemnation with that.
Yes.
It is. I'm not just trying to be anime. I'm just like, this is the aha moment that is going to change me forever.
Right.
I'm gonna catch myself and go die by suicide.
Yes.
It's the truth, because it's a very tender and not completely understood. Although there's more studies placed, and it's not as simple as some kind of carelessness or selfishness. I know we go through those spaces with it. I had a friend that, but I think that's a major takeaway for us.
Yes.
So where do we go, Guadalupe, Aguilar? See, she's been working with me. Yo hablas un poquito. I'm dangerous. Watch out. I'm gonna be fluent soon. We're gonna be doing Mission One Race, Mission Uno Raza. Is that right? Raza. See, soon.
I think the most important step is, number 1 is you have to check on yourself. Check on
yourself.
Your own personal story, your own personal mental health, and say, how am I today? Am I okay? And if I'm not okay, that's fine. It's okay to say, today I'm not okay. That is the most important step. that you need to start. And we need to start saying that physical health and mental health should both go hand in hand. And you have to take care of your mental health first, because the minute that you're not taking care of your mental health, guess what happens to your physical health?
It's going to be a byproduct of that.
Yes. So they're interconnected. And as long as we connect ourselves to both of those aspects, then we can be a better person emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually, in whichever way you want to be. I think that we have to connect with our emotions, because the more we hide, which is what I was doing, I was hiding from them, it does so much hurt to you. And for me, it was just that the catharsis of finishing that marathon was, if I can do this, then I can talk about my brothers.
I love it. So I really, you've said it all. We're landing the plane, we're saying, check on yourself, but like, even as a community, check on each other.
Yes.
And we were having a conversation, a pre-conversation, which we might share. This is the loneliest city in the United States of America, maybe one of the loneliest ones in the world, and it's a shame. There's so many of us here. It's okay, like, take a risk, check on somebody. Are you good? I've had a person do that. Even when I was on long runs, I was wavering on the side, and I never forget it. This gentleman pulls over and goes, dude, are you okay? Mm-hmm. Like, I mean, you know how rare that is to happen? Right. I was thankful for that. And then connect. You just said that, like, connect. You can be connected to where your Department of Mental Health, American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, Mission One Race. We'll navigate. We're not experts in it. We'll get you to those that have conversations around it, and then let's build. We can build. Yes. We can build. Here's the thing. We just talked about when we met. First thing we said was like, we're alive.
Yes.
If we're alive, we still have the ability to create and build. If we don't like the communities and lack thereof that we've done in this conversation, let's just start building differently, yes. Right? And that's our hope in this space. Yes. And we want you, if you're moved by this, to be emotional, to be I love that, because that means you're alive. Mm-hmm. But we can't stop at tears.
No.
Right? Like, we have to begin at tears. Yes. And I'm gonna back up and have you have the last word. But like be moved. You know, go on that emotional journey, because that actually means now you're seeing us as human beings, not as just that person that committed suicide, that actually died by suicide, my human being, right? Mm-hmm. It's not a black male, female, white male, female, or whatever. This person, this human being we've lost, that died by suicide, and we want to reduce that and change that.
Yes, that is true. I think for me, in my own personal journey with the loss of two brothers to suicide, is understanding that I couldn't have changed the outcome, to leave the guilt behind, because you carry that for many, many years. And that to me was the first step, was to let go of the guilt, to let go of being angry at my brothers, and to connect with my emotions inside, but not just to hold it, but to share the story. Because what good does it do if I don't talk about it? What does it do? It doesn't do anybody any good. And for me, it hurt me in the long run, because I was damaged inside. I was shattered, and I was a mess. And for me to say, okay, you know what? I need help. The first thing that you need to do is to tell yourself, I need help. Once you do that, then the process, I don't think you ever recover, because I will never recover from this. But you learn to navigate, you learn to swim above instead of drown.
Love it. Thank you, Guadalupe. Thank you all for joining us. You will have the information there, how to reach out to American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, and you are welcome to continue to watch the Days of Oneness. But if you virtually want to participate when we're out there doing the physical event, let us know, reach out to us. And again, it's all for the celebration of we're one. Though we're many parts, we are unified, and we're in harmony together, and we're better together. So yes. In the name of love, mission, and oneness, RichRel, I'm out. Thanks. Bye.